Well, hey there. We are back on another episode about sales, everybody's favorite topic. And we certainly could all use some assistance in sales, even myself, even though I've been in business forever and did sales even before this. And if you read my little Confident Entrepreneur Guide to Selling, you will get a kick out of some of the sales situations I've been in. So that's a fun little book. You can get it on Kindle on Amazon. Anyway, I didn't really mean to plug that, but it just came out. So today I have a wonderful guest. Her name is Darleen Priday. And Darleen she's kind of like got two businesses. She has her own consulting firm called DP Consults, and she helps sharpen that sales saw for entrepreneurs and really anybody who needs specific help with their sales strategies, their process, etc. And then her full-time gig is she's the vice president of business development for Peachtree Versatile Assistants, which is a pretty top shelf VA firm because they do a lot of scrutiny with their virtual assistants. That's her gig. And man, she is on top of it when it comes to sales. Our recording went a little long, so I am going to break this into two episodes, part one and part two, because I think it's so important to focus in on the different segments that we cover. This first segment is where we're going to be talking a lot about mindset. And yes, I know it's like you're beating a dead horse with the whole mindset stuff, but the way you feel and think about how you show up on a sales conversation before you come into that conversation, as you prep, and as you finish, as you walk away from it, whether you have a client or not, really matters because that energy flows through your whole conversation. And when you're a little better equipped, and we're going to give you some really good suggestions on how you can be better prepared when you go into these sales conversations, you're going to feel a lot more confident. And I will tell you, here's a secret between you, me, and the microphone. The more conversations you have, the more sales conversations you have, the more confident you will become. I learned that very principle just in practice. And I found that the more I was on sales conversations and had these calls, the more comfortable I got with what I was saying. And I was prepared. I had a process, I had a framework, blah, blah, blah. And I remember the evolution, like stepping back and looking at like how I've evolved in my sales conversation. And I'm so much more organic. I'm so much more authentic, which is what we also talk about. I really look forward to having those conversations. I never really try to push anything on anybody. It's more about making a friend, helping people, and understanding what are people really struggling with. So maybe I can create some resources or content or a season on the show where I can offer free guidance along the way. People show up on our path for very specific reasons based on what we're attracting and what we're thinking about and wanting for our own business, and you will attract the right resources that help you. This is a good conversation. Yes, sorry, I kind of abruptly end it on this first part coming into the second one because I was really trying to get it all in one episode, but I didn't want to belabor the conversation because it's definitely something you're going to want to chew on. I hope you enjoy this first part of my conversation with Darleen Priday. Welcome to My Solopreneur Life. I'm Terry Pappy, your gracious host, and I am so glad you're here. I have a wonderful episode for you. Sit back, relax, and let's have some real talk about what it is to be a solopreneur. This is going to be a great conversation, Darleen, and thanks for being here and doing this with me because my listener really needs help with sales. And when I talk about sales, I mean actually the function of making an offer to someone that you know you can help. They have the budget and they're just a little lost. And so the goal is really to get them to a decision, whether that's yes or no or later, and all of the steps in between. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation around some structures that will help my listener really figure out, oh, it's really just another function of business and I can work through this even though I have mindset. Speaking of mindset, I'd love to start there, but what do you want to say just to give a flicker of hope to my listener that sales is doable.
I am so passionate about seeing people succeed with sales because they are the best salesperson. I have so many entrepreneurs that are like, "Can you just do fractional sales?" Or "I need to hire a salesperson." And I'm like, "No, you don't. You've built the business. You are the one that knows it best." And when people understand your passion for what you do, that's the biggest selling point to me.
That's so true. That's so true. I think that's one of the things that makes me more successful when I get into the selling. It's the it's the marketing and the self-promotion that I resist and I'm very reluctant to do because I'm just shy about that, beating my chest and saying, "Look at me, I'm the best." And so
Yeah.
when I get on the call with somebody, I get so interested in their business and their vision and what they want to do. And that natural enthusiasm just makes me want to lean in and just gobble it up. And I think that that's a little contagious. They really see that you're not just running them through a script and everything. That's very refreshing to hear. So let's start in the concept of sales because you can't have a business if you don't sell and transact and create clients, customers, etc. Followers are only going to get you so far. One of the big things that I've been talking a lot about in this season of, turning fears of selling into clients is about the head trash that we have, the mindset. And so I want you to just kind of share some of the things that you've learned about mindset when it comes to selling as an entrepreneur, where you're not only selling your services, but you're also delivering your services. It's very personal in many ways.
Yes. So what I would say is so many people think of sales as black and white. It's either a success or it's not, right? It's
Mm.
a yes or a no. And that's not true. I always tell my clients, if you approach the sales call with curiosity, with empathy, and really active listening, the goal of the sales call is not to sell, it's to build trust. That takes the pressure off of both the client and the entrepreneur or the owner to say, this is not like we're going to hit it hard and it's a yes or a no and give me your credit card by the end of the call. Otherwise, I'll never talk to you. Sharing your value, sharing your passion. And then at the end, obviously, you have to make an offer and share what your offer is, but it's not a yes or a no. Sometimes it's not right now. Sometimes it's not right for me, but I know 10 other people that really need it. Or it could be like, this is what I want to aspire to. You just painted me a great visual of what your services can bring me. I'm not there yet, but I might be. Let's stay in touch. Looking at it through the lens of it's not yes or no, but where does that person fit in the timeline and the pipeline is important.
What are some of the things that build trust?
I always share value, whether they use me now, in the future, or never. I want to give them helpful things that they can walk away feeling better about the conversation and feeling like that deep sigh of relief. Like, I can do this, even if it's not my service. I think that being authentic, really listening. Not everyone's your client, even if they fit in the ideal client, even if they fit in your little box, they're not everyone is your client. And that's okay. And they don't have to be. So I think being honest with yourself when you're hearing those pain points, can I really help them? Am I the best person to help them? Yes, I know I can, but am I the best person to help them? Is again, these people are hearing from so many people, I'm the best and I'm the only one. And when they start to hear somebody that really cares and it's like, you know what, I'm not the best person, but I think you need this first. I could be the best person down the road. You need marketing, you need lead gen first. That's where trust begins because they know you're looking out for them and their success versus selling your service.
What I'm hearing, I don't know whether I'm projecting this or just hearing this between the words, because I really like how you're putting that together about being authentic and building that trust. And it can be easily interpreted as this is why I'm great, like you were saying, this is why I'm the best, and more of that kind of pushy, like people kind of tend to lean back a little bit and feel that they're getting pressured. But the probing, and that's what's always worked for me, is to just be, like I was saying, get so curious and excited about their business that I start asking questions and this, that, and the other. And they're like, well, I don't know, that's a good question. I've never been asked that before. But I think that the way you're like putting that together from a mindset and the perspective of trying to step out of all the head trash that we have when we get on or before we get on one of those calls. If we're just being our natural selves and just sharing what we know, but also asking really good questions, that is a trust building factor. But when you're in those situations, it can often become and I do this all the time, Darlene, free consulting. I'll get on there and I'll start asking all these probing questions because I'm curious and I really am interested. And they were like, well, I didn't do this and blah, 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 and then I did that. And I'm like, well, have you tried this? And then I'm just kind of giving all this free consulting. I'm like, Terry, what are you doing? And I'm like, but that's just how you know what I mean?
Listen, I with that as well. I think I told you that my husband got me a shirt that says, "I'm not bossy, I'm just aggressively helpful." And that could relate into the sales calls because I could see it so clearly when you have that outside perspective looking into somebody else's business. I could just see like what those little tweaks will be. So what
Mhm.
I do is I'm going to do part of that because that's just who I am. And actually I like it and enjoy it. Not to the point where I'm going to give away the whole store,
Yeah.
but I do it because it brings me joy
Yeah.
and it also builds those relationships, those really truly solid relationships. Now, there are people that will just call and then want a free session just by saying, let's get on another call. But that honestly is the minority. Some people really just don't know. I'm always going to err on the side of generosity versus holding my cards tight and being like, when you pay, you get to play.
I like that. Yeah, I do too. That's why we get along so well, I think, because we both have kind of the same helpful approach. I like that T-shirt. I may have to see if I can find one of those online. That's really good. What else can you kind of top that off with as it relates to mindset and some of the things that you hear a lot with the clients that you have in your sales coaching work? What are some of the common things that are mindset related that they are challenged with, and what do you offer them?
So the way I approach things are a little bit different. There's a lot of sales coaching out there, and I'm not saying it's not good. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying that it sets people up for failure a lot if you think outside the box. If you don't fit in that little box and you can follow
Mm,
check one, check two, check three, what it does is it creates this false set of expectations of if you follow these steps, you're going to close sales. And then when they don't, they blame themselves
right.
or what's your close to call rate and different things like that, which I despise that because really there's so many factors that come into that. If you are a solopreneur and you built your business on having a couple of introductions and you have one sale a month and you've had two sales calls, you have a 50% close rate. Now you get a lead gen company and you're getting 20 sales calls a month and you're still closing one or two, then these people think they're failing and they're not. You're building your pipeline and you're also going to kiss a lot more toads when you have all those people coming in.
Yeah.
I think getting hung up on numbers and percentages and all of that can really trip people up or thinking, oh, this company's been around for 50 years in sales coaching, they're the number one and they have to do it this way. I don't know. I find you can glean something from everything, but sometimes you glean what you don't wanna do.
I like that. And I think for my listener, I think that can be quite freeing when you think, okay, it's not, like you say, black and white. And I can understand it is a tool. You can learn skills around sales conversations, and the things related to that drive business. But at the end of the day, when you bring in the authenticity that you were just talking about, which is like you being you, because that's how they're going to in a lot of cases, like with my clients, are typically service oriented, meaning they're consulting, they're working with directly their clients. And in those cases, that's what it's going to be like working with them, right? So you may as well give them a taste of the pie before you sell them the pie. And I think that that's a good thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna be people wanna be everything to everyone, right? They wanna be a chameleon and they hear this, "Well, I can do this and I can do that," and instead of, like, really niching down and sharing what you do best, but I think that stems from fear. Fear you're gonna lose the sale, fear that you're not enough for what this person is looking for or anything like that. There is it is all mind shift, right? Like, you have to let go of the result. If I have a sales call with someone and I've built that relationship and I've built trust and they've learned something from it, that is a win. Count your wins. It's not just if they sign a contract, because you're doing a good work that will come back to you. Now, listen, I'm not saying this because I'm just like all pie in the sky, like hippie chick, like we don't have to sell. I've always been a top producer because I operate this way, even when it doesn't look right to the outside, or even if I'm not hitting all those boxes where I should, it just never felt natural to me. And in the end, the results are in the sales. And that's just the reality of it.
That's really good. There's a bunch of stuff in there that we could unpack, but I want to move on to talk about process. A lot of
Yes.
people don't realize that having a sales process is vital to getting through the efforts of having conversations, doing the sales calls, the sales Zooms, the in persons, all of that, because you're prepared, you know how to function, like go through this process as you're courting a prospect. But a lot of people interpret process as, oh, I have to have a script. I have to ask them question A, and then I have to ask them about budget. And then I have, right? So, but I did Sandler sales training, and it's one of the many sales programs that are out there. And because I always struggled with sales in my early days. And Eric, who I had on a couple episodes ago, he was my trainer, and he's pretty amazing. But the Sandler model had this thing called the submarine, and it had like these stages. They called them the compartments or whatever, but these stages of, you got to build rapport, and then you have to establish budget, and then you have to, and going through those things. And it was, for me, it felt a little, it was good to have the clarity. Like, yeah, I do have to ask, do they have the budget? Because why do I want to go through the brain damage of, right? So you have to figure out fit more early in the conversation. And, but it felt heavy to me because I was more worried about, am I going through the process right? Like, I'd look at my notes, and it just felt too constraining for me to have something like that. And then there's the all out scripts. And I was on a call with a guy, he was selling one of my clients something, and it was as if he was running a script, and I was like, "Oh my God." And I've been through other sales trainings where it's like they they say you have to agitate somebody. It's like, well, if you don't buy today, what are
Ugh,
you going to miss out on? So it's like you build this kind of guilt, and then you end up with clients with buyer's remorse, and they back out. And
yeah.
I hate those tactics. I really, really do. This is why I wanted to have you on, because you're so like not that. But yet you still validate the importance of process. So why is process in sales important?
It's important because the more people that you talk to, you are not top of mind to everyone all the time. I've had clients, I'm in the moment. We've all bought from someone or have had a sales call and you're, oh, this is wonderful. I'm not ready right now. And then you forget, wait, who did I talk to for this coaching?
Yeah.
That type of thing. I just want to touch upon what you were saying, scripts.
Yeah.
I always say you need talking points, right? It's like you need talking points. You need to solidify it because you don't want to fumble. You don't want to not cover all the important things. But on the other hand, it's like, have you ever seen a beautiful singer know a song and then they ad lib and then they go in and it's just a million times better than the original? But it creates those moments and that authenticity.
Mm,
And I've always been on, hi, Darlene, da 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 da, da," and you're like, I can't listen to a conversation. I can't listen to a podcast when it's that monotone, flat, scripted. So I like to prepare for my call by understanding who I'm getting on the call with. Make it about your client. Make it about your
100%.
client or
Oh, yeah.
client, not yourself, right? Nobody wants to just now you got to cover the information, obviously, but
Hmm.
you want to really engage. So do your research, be fully prepared. If you have to practice on your dog, your mother, whoever, practice it until it sounds natural,
Yeah.
and then give yourself grace because the first couple of times going through things, I mean, even on podcasts, my first podcast, I would a deer in a headlights because I thought I had to get everything right. And guess
Yeah.
what? Those mistakes, those those filler words or whatever, people are like, I relate. It just makes you more relatable.
Yeah.
So be prepared, do your homework, and have your talking points solidified. A lot of times people, they lose, they lose the forest through the trees or whatever that expression is because they're so, in the minutia of getting out what their value is that it's falling on deaf ears because they're not actively listening to whether it's the person's speech, body language, all of that. So really just be engaged and active. As far as process goes, most of my clients do not sign on at the end of the call, and I encourage that. Again, a lot of people are like, close that deal, close that deal. No, for exactly what? For Peachtree, I have service-based reoccurring service month after month. I want someone, it's not going to benefit me to scare someone to get a VA today and not have them ready, or to get excited about the concept and not have enough to sustain it. That's a waste of their money. And we want our clients to succeed. So, really understanding where they fall in. Is it a yes? Is it someone that's never going to use you? And then you could just, like, they're in the wrong place. They don't need anything, whatever. That's fine. But that's going to be a tiny percentage of those people you speak with that fall into just not qualified, never again. Most of the people are falling into 30 days. Within 30 days, they're going to make it. Let them digest the information, get back on a call. This way, they're prepared. They hear what you're saying, and then they have more questions because it's hard to come up with questions on the spot. So they really have buy in to whether it's the coaching, whether it's a VA or any service. And then there's going to be people that are like, you know what, my budget renews in January. Touch base with me then. Or there's going to be people that are like, I love the idea of the service, but I'm not ready for you yet. And then we can talk about, okay, what steps can you take to start to get ready? When's a good time to touch base with you? So whether it's a CRM, which there's a lot of free ones out there, there's a lot of low cost ones, especially for an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, you don't need Salesforce to
Oh,
keep
yeah.
track of your, but you do need something where you can put in
Mhm.
notes and have
Mhm.
reminders.
Yep.
I can talk to you today, I can talk to you 6 years from now. I can go in and see exactly what we spoke about. In fact, I had a client say to me a couple of weeks ago, they're like, "You have a good memory." And I just laughed and I was like, "I have zero memory." And I do remember talking to them, but I was like, "I'm looking at the notes,
Yeah.
I'm just as good at my notes, right?" And then you want to nurture them. So just depending, you don't want to keep bothering somebody if you know they're not going to use you right now, maybe in the future, but you want to be top of mind. Like, hey, here's my referral program. If you know of anybody else that may need us,
That's a good one.
but here's a download, right? Like, here's something that can help you. Here's some tips and tricks while you're, before you get into the whole sales strategy. Here are some reminders, be authentic, blah, 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 blah. So this way, every time you touch them, you're giving them value and reinforcing that trust. I just told someone I probably have the longest funnels. I know you line's going, right? I have a woman that I've been talking to, I'm not joking, 7 years. I saw her child graduate high school, graduate college. She now has grandbabies. She sends me every 6 to 8 months a little update of her business. I'm going to use you one day, and I'm sure she will. But even then, we have a relationship. And that's obviously an extreme, but you want to make sure, where is everybody? Are they being touched? Are you giving them value? And when they need that service, will they think of you?
Yeah.
Or did you touch them once, never again? And with the noise in this world, and there's coaches for everything and services for
No
everything
kidding.
in abundance, where are they going to go to someone who is just in front of their face?
Yeah.
Or are
It's a
they going to
great point.
say, I've spoken to Terry, how many times? I'm ready for her now, and
Mhm.
I'm excited to work with her. Now that's an easy close, and
Yeah.
that's a perfect timing close.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know you're disappointed, but that's it for this episode. Listen, the great news is there's another one coming, so stay tuned. Anyway, I just want to make sure that you do the prompt if this episode had a prompt, and you get that homework done because you're going to be a better solopreneur. How's that for a maternal finger shaking at you? Hey, listen, thanks so much for being here, for giving me time of your day, and, for taking it on. So if you want to learn more and stay connected with me, just head on over to mysolopreneurlife.com. Thanks a bunch. See you soon. That was pretty good. I think I'll keep that one. Bye.